So what if reaching the absolute pinnacle of your career was actually the worst thing that ever happened to you? It sounds crazy, right? But today, we're diving into the incredible story of a world chess champion whose biggest fight wasn't on the chessboard, but inside his own head.
Okay, so picture this. You've just lost your world title, the most prestigious crown in all of chess, and mere moments later, this is what you say. And you say it with a smile. No tears, no anger. It wasn't the sound of a defeated king, it was the sound of a man who'd just been set free.
And that right there is the big question, isn't it? How on earth could losing something you've dedicated your entire life to actually feel like a victory? To get to the bottom of this, we've got to peel back the layers on one of the strangest, most difficult reigns in the history of chess.
Yeah, this really is a story full of these wild contradictions, where hitting the peak of your career actually feels like hitting rock bottom, and where letting go of that ultimate prize is the only path to finding any kind of peace.
You know, this image really says it all. Elite chess isn't just a game, it's a brutal, psychological war, and you fight it completely alone. For Ding Liren, that lonely battlefield, well, it became almost impossible to bear.
So let's set the scene. It's December 2024. The defending world champion Ding Liren is facing off against the 18-year-old phenom Gukesh Damaraju. After an absolutely grueling match, Ding loses. But his reaction, it wasn't devastation. It was grace, total grace. And that response just stunned everyone and hinted at a much, much deeper story.
To really get what was going on, we have to rewind a bit, back to how he even became champion in the first place. See, his path to the throne was anything but normal. It was this weird twist of fate that put this invisible, crushing weight on his crown right from day one.
Okay, so here's how it all went down. In 2022, the undisputed king of chess, Magnus Carlsen, just steps away. Says he's not motivated anymore. This blows the whole thing wide open. Ding Liren, who was a runner-up at the qualifier, suddenly gets a shot at the now vacant title. He plays a thriller of a match, wins, and bam! He's the 17th world champion. First ever from China. Huge deal. But there was a catch.
And that catch was huge. You know the saying, to be the man, you gotta beat the man? Well, Ding never got that chance. He never dethroned the king. So from day one, he was fighting this narrative that he was a paper champion. And those whispers, those doubts, coming from outside, and you gotta imagine from inside his own head, they created this immense pressure that just hung over his entire reign.
So he gets the crown. You'd think that's where the triumphant music swells, right? Well, that's not what happened. What came after he became champion is where this story takes a really dark turn. Instead of celebration, his win was followed by this quiet, internal battle that basically took him off the map.
9 months. Think about that. For nearly a year after winning the world title, the champion just disappeared. The whole chess world was asking, where is Ding? He eventually and very bravely revealed the truth. He was battling severe depression. He admitted he just couldn't find any joy in playing the game anymore.
And the contrast is just jarring. I mean, at his peak, people called him the silent storm. Why? Because he had this incredibly calm, solid, almost unbreakable style. He was a force of nature. But then, as champion, that storm just fizzled out. It was replaced by this fog of doubt and a string of bad results that was just shocking for everyone to see.
Let me put his peak form into perspective for you. 100. He played 100 games in a row against the absolute best players in the world without losing a single one. That was a record at the time. The guy was a fortress, unbeatable.
Now, hold that number in your head and look at this one, 300. That's how many days he went without a single win in classical chess while he was the reigning world champion. 300 days. For the supposed best player on the planet, a stat like that isn't just a slump, it's a distress signal.
And you can see this collapse in the hard numbers in his rating. In chess, your rating is basically your identity. At his peak, he was at a stratospheric 28-16, but right before he had to defend his title, it had crashed almost 90 points to 27-28. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in the world of elite chess, that is a catastrophic fall. And listen to this in his own words. It doesn't seem like I've been playing the way I used to, and I don't know if I'll ever reach that level again. I mean, wow. You could just feel the weight in that statement. This isn't a guy in a slump.
This is a man who's lost, grappling with who he is, and openly wondering if he'll ever get back to being himself. It's just heartbreakingly honest. But here's the thing. As personal as Ding's story is, it's not unique, not really. When you look back at the history of chess, it's littered with these brilliant, genius-level minds who just buckled under the unbelievable psychological pressure of being at the very top. I mean, look at this pattern. It's really troubling, and it goes all the way back. Wilhelm Steinitz, the first champ, struggled with psychosis. Paul Morphy, another early genius, the same. The legendary Bobby Fischer dealt with severe paranoia. It seems like the same incredible genius that lets these players see things on the board that nobody else can also be a really heavy burden to carry. There's actually a specific chess term for how this kind of pressure can show up right on the board. It's called Kotov's syndrome. It's when a player gets so lost in calculation that they suddenly realize they're almost out of time. They panic, make a quick, terrible move without thinking, and just lose the game on the spot. It's a perfect metaphor for a mind breaking under stress. And that brings us all the way back to where we started, to that final match. The loss that, from the outside, just looked like a failure. But once you understand everything he went through, you start to realize it might have actually been the biggest win of his entire life. His reaction to losing was just pure class. He immediately admitted his opponent deserved it. He said he had no regrets at all. And maybe the most powerful thing, the new champion Gukesh praised him. He said that the fight Ding put up, knowing what he was going through, proved he was a true champion.
So, what's next for Ding? Well, he's not quitting. Not at all. He's just changing the rules. He's going to keep playing, but on his own terms. That means fewer of those really long, draining classical tournaments and a lot more focus on his own well-being. In a way, he's finally taking control back.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question to think about. Was losing the title the only way for Ding Liren to win back his life? His whole story really makes you rethink what success even is. Is it holding on to a title no matter the cost? Or is it having the courage to let it go, to save yourself? You have to wonder if for Ding Liren, giving up the crown wasn't a loss at all, but his most brilliant checkmate.